And usually we have an introduction with, but we just did informal. So I don't know if I'm gonna do it again, but I'm Gary and I'm a member of the chamber, member of the Rotary, and I've been and the chair of this with it's kind of a joint meeting, and everybody's open to it. And so and it's for educational purposes, and it's for it's supposed to be a focus on the business in the community. And but we've had all kinds of topics depending on what the current flavor is lately. And today our speaker is going to be right there. Let me see it. And you're Hanna, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that your Jeep? Were you in the Jeep out there, Hanna?
The red Jeep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice car.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was gonna say policy folks must make bank at the chamber. I didn't know that.
So and Hanna's going to be our speaker today. We want to thank you for coming, Hanna. And so I'm going to let's see here. It seems like you've got a lot of background here, and I'm not going to read it. You just tell us a little bit about yourself and go with it, okay?
Yeah. Because
you could probably do a better job than me reading.
No, it's just fine. Yeah. So thank you for having me here today. My name is Hanna Zinn. I'm new to the chamber. I recently started about a couple months ago, and I'm the public policy manager. I originally am from Iowa, Northwest Iowa to be specific. And while I was in Iowa growing up, I worked for the state legislature and the Secretary of State's office through college. Good morning. After college, I moved up to the cities, and I was kind of tired of the Des Moines thing. I wanted to do something different, so I decided to come north to the cities. I've been here for about 5 years. Oh, I got it. I'll speak a little louder. How's that? Is that better? Okay. All right. So anyway, yes. So I worked for CliftonLarsonAllen, the accounting firm, for about 3 years. While there, I worked in their state and local government tax and auditing group. So I got familiar with local budgeting, audits, tax, everything. But I quickly realized I don't quite have the personality for accounting. It's not for me. I really appreciate everybody that works so hard in doing that, but it's just not for me. So I went back to grad school, and I got my master's degree in public policy from the Humphrey School. During my time at the Humphrey School, I worked for the League of Minnesota Cities and the City of Minnetonka for about 1.5 years. And following that, I was looking for something a little more detailed, something a little more, something different, something that I was more passionate about. And I found the chamber, and I love the work that I do. I love the work that I do for the chamber. I live in Hopkins, so I am a West Metro gal. I'm actually looking at buying a townhome out here, so I have a lot of roots. I'm trying to grow some roots here. I love the West Metro. I'm really excited to be working more with the West Metro in this role. I'm going to be more focused on engagement and advocacy work out here, and I'm just really excited that all of you want to have me here this morning. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. So this morning, I think I'm just supposed to talk about kind of what's going on with advocacy. So the legislature is wrapping up this week, hopefully. We don't really know. As some of you may know, they had a constitutional deadline to be done on Monday. That deadline came and went, and some work was not finished. So there are some really huge omnibus bills that are out there. The omnibus bills are just like a giant hodgepodge of bills smashed together into one giant bill. Right now, what we're focused on is we're hoping that if they come back, it will be for the tax bill. It's the only real reason they would have to come back. With the $9 billion plus surplus the state has, giving tax relief and tax credits to Minnesotans is a really high priority. We also know that Golden Valley has a sales tax in the tax bill, so we're hoping they come back for you guys. We also want to let you guys know that we are happy to testify on behalf of local governments, local businesses at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level as well. We are happy to testify in person, show up just in silent support, or write letters and have you sign on. We specifically are looking at we added a new area of advocacy this year. So we look at transportation, workforce development, and housing. And we actually just added in childcare and early childhood development this year. We understand that providing quality childcare is really important for getting women, especially back into the workforce, especially here in the cities. Childcare is really, really expensive. And so trying to find affordable ways to provide that for people to come back to the workforce is really important. We also recognize that this session, one really important thing that got done was the unemployment insurance refund of that trust and getting that money back to businesses. We're really happy that that got passed through. It was painful. It was not easy, but we testified and we're happy to support that work. At just kind of a larger level, next Friday, we have a legislative breakfast for the West Metro. Do you know where? I think that's here.
It's in Golden Valley.
I was
at the
gonna say,
Metropolitan Ballroom.
I'm pretty sure it's
no
in Golden
excuses
Valley.
if you're around Friday morning.
Yes. So if you are around Friday morning, we are going to have some local state legislatures be present to talk about their experience this session. We're working on a moderator. We're hoping to have a nonpartisan journalist come in and do a really great job with that. And there will be more legislative breakfasts over the summer. We're looking to have one in June that is going to feature more federal level state representatives. So we're hoping to have Dean Phillips and Ilhan Omar. Couldn't think of her name for a second. Dean is my rep. So, and then we're hoping to have one in August with Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar. So if you're interested in those, please subscribe to our advocacy newsletter. We send that out every week during session, and we're looking to fill that with more information over the summer. I think that's all I really had for this morning. I just kind of did a very high level, but if you guys, I'm happy to take questions, or if you want to promote something, I'm happy to answer whatever I can.
Well, before you do, and this maybe prompt you to think about some things a little bit. One of the, and Hannah's probably a little too modest to talk about, you know, her kind of rise to stardom in her short time at the chamber, but she, one of the first things she did was create this kind of legislative tracking spreadsheet that is really a deep dive into everything that's going on, the communities that are affected. So it's easily searchable. It's easily kind of, you know, it's a great tool for us to use internally, but for our partners and stakeholders to be able to, you know, to access our work really directly. And so, like Hannah said, being able to, you know, track and utilize the chamber locally, regionally, and beyond is something that, you know, we're continuing to build out, and it's we encourage you to participate, whether that is, you know, showing up at programs. There's opportunities on a policy committee if you're really wonky and you love that work on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
That is ongoing, or if just something comes up or you have questions, because, you know, it's confusing, it's changing, and you know, that's the reality of that world, right? Yeah. So as I'm looking at Marie, so like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I first joined the chamber, so I work with Grace Waltz. She's the vice president for public policy. She was a team of one. And so when I came on, I sat down with her and I just said, what are things you've always wanted to do, but you've just never had capacity to do because you're one person and it's impossible to do everything? And she said that she wants a stronger presence in the West Metro, and she wanted something more deeply involved with the legislature. So within my first 3 days, I took on the challenge in mid-March of starting to go through every single bill that had been proposed to the legislature and figure out what impacted our members and how do we track it. So yeah, that spreadsheet is quite large, but it's very useful. I'm happy to share that with anyone who wants to know about what was proposed this session and what could impact them, and maybe what we could look at moving forward for next session. A lot of these bills, some of them were combined, like I said, into the omnibus bills. So like the Golden Valley sales tax authorization was put in, as well as the Bloomingtons into the tax bill. So, it touches everything. But no, we're really happy with some of the things that were proposed this session. We see a lot of movement forward that will help businesses, that will help communities, that will just really elevate and kind of bring people back to the Twin Cities. So that's what we're looking forward to. So I welcome any and all questions. I am by no means an expert in the legislature, but I have spent quite a bit of time doing a lot of research and looking at things. So I'm happy to take any questions, answer anything. Yes, absolutely.
I've been a little bit out of touch for the past 5 months or so. But, and by the way, CliftonLarsonAllen has generated some pretty good people for the chambers. One of my favorite people is Dan Krachowski.
Yeah.
And she was the chair of Twin West and also the chair of the Minnesota Chamber.
Wow.
Mhm.
So
Interesting.
she's cool.
Yeah.
What's being done with regards to like a legislative affairs committee that everyone can be involved in? Is that getting going?
Yes. So actually, we have an advocacy committee that meets once every month, and we sort of just are the host of the committee, but it is all members. It's all business community. There are some local leaders as well, and they are working on getting together some sort of legislative task force to really make a list of priorities for next session that they can move forward with. So if you're interested in that, I'm happy to pass along your name to Grace, and she can kind of connect you with the members that are working toward that. So yeah. If anyone is interested in that, I'd be happy to connect you.
What time does the breakfast start next Friday?
8 o'clock. Yes, it'll
What's the
be.
cost of the breakfast or the
I'd have to look it up.
Yes,
I'll get it to you.
that I'm not sure of.
Okay. And then back in the day in Twin West, we had like breakfast passes that were promoted. You could buy a pass for the whole season. Is that ever worth? Is that?
Well, I'll pass that along to the
Yes.
powers that be on the programming side, because that
Yes.
makes sense. I think right now it's kind of building awareness, and also since the geography has gotten larger, it's like,
Yeah.
well, do you do something specific for Minneapolis versus the western suburbs versus South Metro, or is it all inclusive? And so I think they're trying to figure that out. But the regularity of those programs, we're starting up again.
3, right? 3 regionals.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And the other piece, I would say too, is it's a great opportunity to kind of get the word out. Whatever's coming up. I saw Betsy just came in. I see Anthony's online. Yesterday at the breakfast in Bloomington, the Bloomington school superintendent made an impassioned plea to fund special ed. I don't care what else you do, fund special ed. It's an unfunded mandate. If we don't have that money, it's a huge deal. And it has incredible ripple effects throughout the community. So, everybody has kind of things that they're passionate about. And obviously our elected officials are open and available to, hear from you. But sometimes that weight of being with others in that business setting adds a little bit to the conversation as well. So I encourage that.
Yes, our legislators definitely are going to these events and looking to talk with their constituents. So they talk a lot, and it's great to hear them, but they also do want to hear feedback from all of you about issues that you see as really important, because that's the whole reason why they either want to go back for a special session or maybe decide it's not worth it. So
Could you give us more details about the West Metro meeting, June 3rd?
Yes, so we are going to have.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Yes, good. So Brent has more of the detailed information.
Okay, it is 8 to 9:30 a.m. At the Metropolitan Ballroom. It's on our website, mplschamber.com, under programs. $45 for members, $60 non-members. And I don't know that the series piece has worked out yet. As far as, I don't know if reps have confirmed yet or not.
Some have.
I think, was it, did I see Karen Housley was one of them?
Yes.
And I'm not sure who else is on the list here, but I think that's also a little bit of a moving target depending on if there is a special session or what happens.
Yeah, so next Friday, we're hopeful to have at least 2 representatives and a senator. That's typically what we've had for the last 2 we had this week. Like Brent said, with the session still technically over, technically maybe a special session coming in, we're not really sure who's going to be available, or if the governor decides not to call one, who maybe is on vacation. So we're really hopeful, though, that we are going to have some really great speakers come. And I know that they definitely do want to be here, and they do want to reach out and meet with all of you. So.
Right.
Speaking of Twin West, part of my summer series that I'm calling for myself in this role is I want to be more involved with community events that are going on. I want to be able to show that the chamber supports all of the really hard work that I know our local governments do. Working in local government previously, I understand all the hard work that goes into putting on all those events. So if you have any feedback on events that you know Twin West did and you would love to see come back, or things that Twin West was previously involved in, please send those my way. I'm super happy to look into those and give you as much information as I can about what the chamber is going to do moving forward. Like I said, when I talked to Grace about kind of where she is trying to kind of like plug the holes, but she just can't get it all. The West Metro is something that's really important to us. So that's sort of why I'm in this role. And so I'm super excited to be working more in depth with all of you, and hopefully you guys will see me more at these events. So yes.
Great. Any more questions? Excellent.
Nice job.
Thank you for the update.
Yeah.
Thank you for the insight. I think we all have to get more connected with the chamber, because you got a lot of things going on. You've got all these outreach things, and it's a lot different level than the Twin West, where we have one region. Well, you've got several regions you're focusing on.
Yes.
And I think it'd be fascinating. I don't have the time, but I'd love to have, to go to each legislative breakfast, because I know one of the events that Twin West had was always an enjoyable event, and I think it'd be kind of I can see where certain members in the past, I know, would enjoy going to all 3, not just one. So it'd be fascinating. But anyway, with that, let's do this. Let's start with the city update today. Any updates? Anything going?
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought so. Make sure people hear me. Hello, everyone. It's been a quiet May. Knock on the wood. But big news for a change. But our new chief does start May 2nd. He is in Golden Valley, and so far so good. We're trying to bring him in maybe the June or July meeting, where we can talk about that, Gary, and figure out his schedule. I'm sure he's meeting anyone and everyone at this point, so I don't want to overbook him, but it'd be great to have him meet, business community and introduce himself as well. So that's the one big thing I guess could say. Others, not smaller, but Greenways Villas, the new housing development, just started construction this past week or a couple weeks ago.
Last week was kind of the big week where all the clearing and grubbing started, and when all the neighbors started calling.
Yeah, and I got emails. Yeah. So it has started. 7 homes on a about 2-acre footprint over on the northwest part of what used to be the country club. Construction throughout the summer, hopefully be done by early next year, give or take, depending on how
The developer wants to move quickly.
exactly as well. So that started. City side, we also passed a land acknowledgement for Golden Valley. Our diversity, equity, inclusion committee worked on it for when I was in the committee. That was like 2 years ago. So it's been a long time coming, but it's put in really great work. And for me, it's not about the statement itself. It's about what we do around that statement and programming, really getting residents to understand what that means. So it's a better, community relations, especially with our Native American population as well. So it's kind of the start, I would say, with that, but it's really good work. And thank the DEI Commission for all their work in getting that together and moving forward on that. On the sad side of it, there has been a couple of carjackings in Golden Valley the last couple of weeks. I know one was over off of Lilac. The other one was over at Breck, both late at night, around 11:30, 12 a.m. So police are working diligently on, investigating and finding the suspects who did this. So number one, our police department is working on this. Number two, be vigilant, know your surroundings. Don't try to fight with carjackers. Not a good idea. Want to make sure everyone is safe in that process. And it's not a Golden Valley issue. It's region-wise, we all know, over the last years. So just have confidence that we're on top of it. Of course, any information you have about this, feel free to call us police department to help our investigation out. But we're taking it very seriously as well. That's all I had from the city council side. I don't know if the planning commission that development had any more things going behind the scenes I don't know about yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of stuff kind of in the works. I've mentioned a few development projects. Exactly when activity will start is always a little hard to know because it's one thing to get through sort of the approvals process from the planning commission, city council, and you've got to get through the permitting process. So making sure that all the engineering, all the wetland management, stormwater management, and landscaping, all those things are in order. I think there still continues to be issues with labor and materials and lead times on those issues. So, but hopefully we will probably see some activity happening yet this summer. Things starting to take place. Sherry's working hard on the early stages of a project that we hope will take off and be beneficial for our downtown area. You mentioned the local option sales tax, and we also had a request in for a remote fire station for bonding dollars for that. But one of the things we're working on now is really getting out and doing some site selection for our remote fire station, going through a very public process. We know that it won't be necessarily an easy decision, but we need lots of community engagement and starting to lay that process out. So look forward to that probably this summer and fall. So, Sherry, anything else?
No, other than I think we've had like a 3-year process for our public land disposition policy. And we're holding a meeting on the 31st here in Brookview at I think 10 a.m. With potential developers to talk about what an affordable homeownership program would look like on those lots. The HRA has recommended 4 lots for this year to be considered by the city council. So we have 4 or 15 lots, and knowing that Golden Valley's 95% homeownership, it'll be really great to be able to offer some entry-level homeownership opportunities in the city over the next few years. Timeline for the program is yet to be determined. We're starting with engaging developers to see how that will move forward.
Sherry, I have sort of a related question. In your world, just the term affordable, is there talk about using something else, or there's a lot that goes with that, and
That's why I mentioned entry level.
Okay, that's why I thought it kind of triggered a little something, and I'm thinking, it's such a huge need and such a complex, complex work, with various entities, that I'm just curious from a kind of messaging PR thing, what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, the Met Council standards are up to 115% of area median income. So that's about $120,000 a year. And we hope to work with some nonprofits to offer some deeper affordability, maybe 80% of area median income, which is about 85,000. So then you're thinking, teachers and people in that health and healthcare profession, et cetera. And it will all depend on our funding partners. In order to offer more deep affordability, we'll need to work with Minnesota Housing, the Metropolitan Council, and Hennepin County to bring both the development gap and the affordability gap. So some assistance in construction. It sounds like the cost to build a new home with an unfinished basement, maybe 3 or 4 bedrooms, is about $400,000 to $500,000 right now. And that's coming from the nonprofit construction world. And we'll be able to offer a land write-down, which will help and leverage those other funds. But it's expensive, and that's why we'd like to see the housing bill be complete this year, in addition to the bonding and the tax bill. So, but we have some great lots, and it'll be good to see whether who we end up working with to develop those lots over the next few years.
I think calling it workforce housing is good too.
Mm-hmm.
I have 10 miles to get to work, and I was watching a TV show yesterday morning about how expensive it is now. If you 3 years ago compared to today, because of the rising cost of the house itself, and because of now the 30-year fix is at about maybe 5.5%, your monthly mortgage payment is about double what it would have been 3 years ago for the same house. So it's getting tough.
It's evolved so much, I think, in the last 20 years. When I bought my first house, I remember, landlords were like giving away months of free rent just to attract people because the housing market was so hot. And now it feels like that's totally shifted. And, we can't build. I mean, even the pandemic and everything that's sort of happened, it seems like there's still a huge demand, and developers continue to be super interested in doing multifamily projects, particularly in the suburbs with some of the rent control ordinances that have passed in the core cities. So I think that's going to continue to put pressure on Golden Valley and first ring suburbs. The other thing I think is really interesting is that, the exurbs, places like maybe Minnetonka, Rogers, Otsego, those areas I think are, they're seeing explosions in housing partly because they have land and there's, an economy of scale in building many homes at once. But people aren't having to drive because we've all discovered how we can work from home. And so people are able to get a new house. And I'm curious to see how that's going to change, development and economic development, in core cities and first ring suburbs.
But for some businesses, they have to drive there. Like, for example, Methodist Hospital and all the related clinics, they're the largest employer in St. Louis Park. Most people can't dial it in. They've got to be there. So they need to work close by. I live close by him.
Right. My wife works there, so I know.
Any other questions for the city updates? With that, we'll right along with the schools. Who wants to go first to the schools? Let me see if I have an order on the agenda. That's school districts.
I don't know if those we have. Yes, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Good morning. I'm sorry, it's not afternoon quite yet. I got a long day ahead of me today.
Can't quite hear you.
Can you hear me? All right, I am Anthony Williams. I'm the Executive Director of Community Education, Athletics and Activities. Are you all who are in the room able to hear me? I know online they can hear me.
Hold on, Anthony, we're having trouble hearing
Can't
you.
hear you.
Okay.
It's on our end, not on your end.
Yes, you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We're working on it.
Could it be a different speaker? I only have two options here.
That should pipe it in.
Let's try it again, Anthony.
All right, can you all hear me now?
No, still no.
Well, we sure got the school updates over here. Let's see what happens here.
It's not gonna help
Can we
me.
pick it up on the computer speakers?
Oh, I got TV.
Nope. I should stop. I'm just pressing buttons.
That's usually.
That's why.
Exactly.
I wonder, so press phone audio, compete. Do I want computer audio? Yeah, probably.
Has nobody else talked today from the screen?
No.
Not that we've been able to hear.
Yeah.
All right, try it again, Anthony. Let's see.
All right, can you all hear me?
Uh,
We're working on it, sorry.
That's fine.
One day.
What's the different speaker?
Mark, do you want me to go to the front desk?
Yeah, if Craig's around.
Yeah.
One more time.
Usually fixes it.
Can you hear me?
Oh my God.
We got you.
I don't know what I did. I'm not gonna touch anything now.
It's like I left the restaurant.
All right, well, I was just introducing myself officially. I'm Anthony Williams. I am the Executive Director of Community Education, Athletics and Activities for Robbinsdale Area Schools. I've now been with the district for 10 months and 14 days here, so not quite a year. Prior to coming to Robbinsdale, I had spent over 15 years in Minneapolis Public Schools as in all types of positions, as well as the Executive Director of Community Education. And just to give you a little bit about what we got going on here at the school district, first and foremost, we're, our hearts are heavy, obviously with the situation in Texas, so we're trying to be responsive and supportive of our families and our community during this time. Although that happened in Texas, it impacts the entire school community. We are gearing up or winding down for the end of the school year. June 8th is the last day of school officially. So, so we're wrapping things up at each one of our buildings for that. And we begin summer programming June 13th. And we'll have a whole host of summer programs right there at Sandburg Middle School, from, credit recovery to, enrichment opportunities and things of that nature. So I think we're serving over 200 students there this summer at Sandburg. As well as we have programming at Lakeview and Pilgrim Lane and, some of our high schools as well. One of the things I wanted to announce, and I'm not sure if this committee has heard of it, but the district was a recipient of what's called the Full Service Community Schools Grant. We received that award back in January. It's a state grant, but it's a federal pass-through, so it's all part of the APR dollars. The district received over $2 million to provide full service community schools at Robbinsdale Cooper, at Sandburg / Highview, and at Robbinsdale Middle School. So we're in the process at Sandburg, but at all of our schools of doing what's called a needs assessment, where we reach out to our students, our staff, as well as to the community about what types of services they would like to see at these full service community schools. And what those services look like could be additional mental health services, could be, medical services or dental services, food shelf, clothing closet, hygiene needs for our students, but also for some of the broader community who will have access to these resources. So we're excited to be developing that model here in Robbinsdale and at those 3 sites specifically. Yeah, so like I said, we're right now in the planning phase, and we plan our implementation phase will start after July 1. So that'll be something that we'll have in the Sandburg area. The district is also in the process of doing a strategic plan, with the new superintendent who started, 12 days prior to me starting July 1 of last year. We felt it was important to sort of to look at our practices, and our input in the district as well as in the community, and see what we can do differently. So we're in the process right now. We're in phase 1 of our strategic planning process, which has been a lot of input sessions, both internally and externally. Yeah, so that ball is rolling. We hope to have additional input sessions throughout the summer, and then be able to have a strategic plan presented to the school board. I believe the October-November deadline is what we're shooting for an updated strategic plan. And those are the 4 updates I have from the district. So I'm nice to be here, with you all. I'm actually I'm going to call in from my cell phone so I can get my daughter to her bus stop, but I will have time for questions, but I just want to switch platforms and call in from my cell phone. But you know what, I want to hold off on that because in case we lose audio again. So do we have any questions for me?
Very much for participating in our meeting today, and look forward to having you every month and with your report. Really appreciate you and your patience with our audio, which we'll get better at this. We're working on it. Yeah, they must unmute me. Oh.
I think my sound's off anyway. No, we don't want to mute me. Mute me, please. Okay. So
You can mute yourself.
Not everybody's muted, but if there's any questions, I'm gonna switch platforms because I can hear you all on my cell phone. But do you have any questions for me at the moment? And yes, I look forward to participating in these meetings. I know that in the past it was Dr. Weirkamp, and the district is looking at having sort of a rotating model because sometimes we have different information to share, like our communications and strategic planning may have or strategic outreach may have information, the superintendent may have information. So I'll be the primary person, but sometimes there may be a rotating member, as well as I'm interested in having our full service coordinator from Sandburg, who can always provide updates on that work with full service about key partnerships. I'm also probably join along at some of these future meetings.
Sounds good. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you all.
okay.
Oh, dang.
Now I got my speaker off.
Always like to get feedback.
Yeah, always asking for feedback.
Back to the old.
Okay, how's that?
It's better.
Okay, well, again, thank you, Anthony. Great report. Any questions for Anthony? I think we're good with questions.
Just thrilled to have him.
We're
here.
thrilled to have you here. Thank you
Yeah.
for a great report. A lot of information you gave out there. A lot of exciting things, and glad to hear that your school district's got a few bucks coming its way. It sounds like you had some funding that was kind of exciting there. With that, I'll go to the next school, which will be Hopkins.
And Katie O'Shea Peterson did text me this morning that she is in an appointment and thought it would be done by now, but apparently not. So
Okay.
that's that. I have a missed phone call, but I don't think it's from her.
Okay. Well then, Betsy,
Sure.
you're the next one on the school's
Okie
list.
dokie then. Perpich Center for Arts Education is busy and has been, it's been a busy May, and I'm like, whew, it's the 26th. Graduation is tomorrow. And it's gonna be a fabulous day, and it's the first time that we will be back at Ted Mann Auditorium since the 2019 graduation ceremony. So nice to get back to some, before times normal things. But we've got, Purpose graduation is a unique animal because Purpose is a unique animal. And every single student does some sort of performance at the graduation ceremony. So it's not just a graduation ceremony. It is a full-on event. So that'll be great to have that tomorrow. We have lots of things planned over the summer related to outreach for arts educators. So our campus will be very busy because now is the time that arts educators are out of the classroom and back, they're out of their classrooms in their buildings and then in our classrooms learning about standards and new techniques and things to apply for the next school year. So that's a quick Purpose update.
Great. Now,
Which hat do you want me to wear now?
well, you might as well just jump to the Rotary update since
Okay.
you're
Yeah.
you're in the driver's
And
seat right now.
I didn't introduce myself. I'm Betsy Anderson.
Yeah.
Sorry. Purpose Center for Arts Education and member of the Golden Valley Rotary Club. So that's that hat now. And I would invite all of you to a very, very cool short service project this following Tuesday, the 31st of May. We're having one of our lunch hour service projects here at Brookview. Two Rotary clubs are actually partnering together. It's the Golden Valley Club and the Crystal New Hope Robbinsdale Club. Joined together in a grant to support the Bridge for Youth. And so we're going to be doing a hands-on 1 hour service project. It's probably less than an hour because there's time for lunch in there too.
Mhm.
We're going to be packing together intake packets. So when a young person comes to the Bridge for Youth, either from a home or from the street, they usually come in with nothing. And so we are preparing packets so that they can have something when they come in the door. That packet is going to have a blanket, a zippered hoodie, a pair of sweatpants, a pair of socks, and a fidget toy. I thought the fidget toy was an interesting addition, and just like, okay,
Mhm.
Still relevant.
that's a comfort thing. Let's do that. Yeah. So we're going to be, assembly lining those. That's a verb.
Yep.
Putting those packets together on Tuesday. There's actually two opportunities. You could be here at noon with the Golden Valley Club, or that evening, Tuesday evening at Prism with the Crystal New Hope Robbinsdale Club. So all of the information will be on our Facebook page and our website. Everyone's welcome to join us. Many hands make light work. So that's
Great.
Tuesday the 31st.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of the big thing coming up.
Is there an update on the Taste of Golden Valley?
Yeah, so the taste and tour of Golden Valley, we are what's the word I'm looking for? We are investigating the possibility of moving it to the fall. So we had that last Thursday of July in mind, and it's now May 26th.
Okay.
And things got a little bit like, ooh.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, maybe what would it look like if it was in the fall? And partially because we expect a fair amount from our businesses to put that event on. I mean, they really are the reason why we put the event on. And if they don't have the staffing to be present in an effective way, the event just doesn't quite work the way we want it to. So we're doing a little bit of chatting with our businesses over in that 55 Winnetka space and gauging, what does your staffing look like right now? Could you do it on the 28th of July, or would you prefer it to be sometime in September in that space? So we're having those conversations. That's my update.
Thank you for
Stay
the
tuned.
update. Chamber update. Well, we've had quite a bit. Let's review the chamber updates.
Then we should
Yeah,
maybe-
thanks. So I think in addition to the policy program, the legislative breakfast a week from Friday, and the meaty substance of other programming that I'm sure we'll have throughout the summer. Traditionally, summer chamber programming is a little more social, casual. So there will be a lot of like the golf tournaments that will go on through the chamber, opportunities for happy hours, especially within the context of series or regular programs. So our young professionals group, our emerging leaders, we call it, will have opportunities to do that. I think there's a Saints game coming up in the near future for them. Oh, she knows. Okay, I've aged out of that. I don't know if you can tell from the screen. Yeah, I know. We really get out and about. And our executive women's series, I'm sure we'll be doing a similar sort of thing. So, people may make light of that, but a lot of they're important. They're important to, especially after a couple of years of not getting together, just the value that we see in those is big. And I think the other thing that I wanted to mention, and Gary, I don't want to steal your thunder as chair, but our next meeting on June 23rd with the Golden Valley Human Services Commission, and Mark had sent me something about an event that's put on to support them. So you might want to talk a little bit about that, because there's an opportunity to raise awareness and participate and sponsor. And that's in the actual event is mid-August, right?
Yeah, I believe, I should pull it up here, but I believe it's, I want to say August 14th. It's the Human Services Greens Classic. Used to be a whole golf event, but I think last year they limited it to lawn bowling, which was hugely successful. It was actually a Sunday evening. It seemed to work out very, very well. So the Human Services Fund, just so you know, is it's a commission of the city of Golden Valley. The purpose of the commission is to raise money to support a whole host of different social service organizations. So it might be dealing or supporting maybe domestic violence victims, or as you mentioned, the youth program, just kids in need. PRISM certainly receives support. So I'm going to say there are like a dozen, maybe a little more than that, organizations that they have contributed to over the years and regularly. So anyway, consider that event. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it, and I can get maybe more info out to you, Gary, or just maybe route it.
Yeah,
route it
please.
through. Get that spread.
And it sounds like we're going to have the June 23rd meeting. That's going to be a speaker is about this whole program. So good to know. And then Dan, I know you don't have a question because you have an announcement.
No, I have a question back to the
Okay,
school districts. This has to do with school districts, and I don't know if Anthony's still on or not.
Looks like it.
Obviously, the biggest concern right now is what happened in Texas. And to be sort of apolitical on the thing, a lot of Democrats, not all Democrats, are framing it as a gun control issue. A lot of Republicans, not all Republicans, are framing it as a mental health issue, each blaming each other as usual. And the answer is probably, as usual, they're both right to some degree. In this morning's Star Tribune, the superintendent of Plymouth wrote a commentary about Plymouth.
Well, Plymouth doesn't have a school district, so was it the Wayzata School District?
Might have been. Do you know the name?
What's the name? Chase Anderson?
No.
Oh.
But it was a superintendent of a school district in the Western area. And basically said that no matter what you do with regards to gun control, it all comes back to mental health. So I'm kind of curious to know, and I just want to learn as much as I can from the experts, because I'm not. How are you addressing it, and how are you dealing with your students on it?
So, go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm not gonna even come close to pretending to be an expert in this area. I will say that, here in Robbinsdale, we do have an intense focus on our youth mental health. We're one of the only school districts that has a mental health provider in every single building, through some of our funding and our partnerships with our redesign, Robbinsdale redesign program. So we do have a real focus on mental health. That being said, student safety issues are still a concern of every school district, even outside of these catastrophic incidents like what happened in Texas. So, we try to have partnerships with our local police departments and, and responsive in that way as well. But we all can do better, right? Obviously, I'm sure that safety very seriously down in Texas, and we still had an incident down there. So yes, we prioritize student mental health. Yes, we prioritize school safety, but we can always do better, and we're always reflecting on our current practices to see how we can do better. I don't know if that answered your question from an expert standpoint, but
how did you deal in the past day with your students?
In the past day or so?
Yeah.
It was just really our we sent out some messaging to our students and our families, but it really is those frontline leaders and our teachers who were there to comfort, and greet students. Those building administrators were there greeting students as they came into the building, and just reassuring them that we are here, we do care, and we will protect them at all costs, but, I have a young daughter who's also, who's 12 years old, who's also in, public schools. And we had that conversation at home of, sort of that scary conversation of what do you do in this situation? Because it's happening more and more frequently, so like, so we only can, can try to reassure, and comfort at this point.
And I would say, to piggyback on Anthony's comments, my,
Well,
No, you can go ahead and do it.
might be picked up. One of my areas of focus yesterday was reaching out to educators, because educators are not okay right now. And what happened in Texas should not be an occupational hazard for teaching. And so it was, for me, it was reaching out to my kids' educators at Meadowbrook Elementary in Golden Valley, but also the educators that work in my building, and just thanking them for creating safe spaces for our young people to deal with hard things, because that happens every day. Our young people are dealing with hard things every day, and educators are creating safe, loving spaces for that to happen. Yesterday's spaces were particularly heartbreaking for our educators, especially at the end of a school year. They are so tired. They are so ready to wrap up a school year, and then to have this happen. It was, it was deflating. It was deflating, and it was enraging. So you kind of had the deflation and the enraging happen throughout our building. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know from talking to other parents at my kids' school, when you have a 10-year-old reassuring their parent, don't worry, we train for this. 10-year-olds shouldn't be training for this. They're not in the armed forces, right? Like, so we are training our children to expect this. And I think that's something we really need to look at. Where have we gone wrong? Whether the answer is control on weapons or supports, we have not taken the right path.
Okay. Next.
Dan has got something he wants to announce to the next business council next week at St. Louis Park. So go for it, Dan.
And I'm going to pass out our agenda for next week for the St. Louis Park Business Council. We have a couple interesting guest speakers, and Steve Schussler from Rainforest Cafe, Schussler Creative. He also, Gary told me he has an office in Golden Valley.
This is where else, he calls his headquarters St. Louis Park, but
but he also has like 4 restaurants at Disney theme parks, which no one else has. And he's an unbelievable guy. Steve Schussler is teaming up with famous Dave Anderson. I think you've probably heard of famous Dave. And they're both going to be our guest speakers in our Spotlight on Business next week at St. Louis Park, because they're starting a whole concept on a pizza restaurant, and they're beginning with the Galaxy Drive-In. And they're anxious to speak because it's all starting in St. Louis Park. And if you know these guys, what they start, they really expand. So it'd be fun to hear what they say. And I really welcome, everyone's welcome.
So Galaxy is not going to be Galaxy anymore. It looks like it's
well,
changing. Is that gone away?
Well, Galaxy was a concept restaurant.
Oh.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with this.
No,
I think they're converting the Galaxy restaurant into this.
into this big
Oh,
James
okay,
pizza.
okay.
Got it.
But we'll learn all about it. I don't know if they're gonna be passing out pizza. But
It's
it
hard-
should-
at 7:30 in the morning.
Maybe a breakfast pizza.
We've all done it.
Pizza's always-
We've all done it.
Don't pretend like we haven't had cold pizza.
But it should be a fun meeting, and I think you'll all enjoy it.
Cold
So
pizza in the
encourage you all to come to it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's 7:30. If you're interested in not on the invitation, send that to me and I'll get it to you.
That starts at 7:30 as opposed to 8:30.
And where is Wolf Lake Professional Center?
If you look in the upper left, it's about 3 blocks east of Highway 100 on 36th. So if you know where the Seamless Park Rec
Yeah.
Center area,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
across the street.
Got it. Perfect.
It's the same building as the Citizen State Bank that's
Yeah,
located on the main
Citizens
floor.
Independent Bank is based right there, and that's what it says on the building, Citizens Independent Bank. And we're in a conference room on the main floor. Thank you.
Okay. Any other announcements? Did I miss anybody?
I think you got it.
Okay. With that, we'll see everybody on the 23rd and we'll adjourn. And thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you. Welcome, Anthony, again. And thank you, everybody, for being patient with our technology today. Over and out. Everybody have a good weekend.